how do you find a way to make sure you can just be positive, control your mindset, focus on the things you can control, and don't let any of the external forces dictate your approach and what you do? Nick Foltz.
What's going on, Mike?
What the hell's going on?
How we doing, man?
Welcome to 2020.
I know. What a show, huh?
What do you think? What do you mean? What a show? Give me your 2020 breakdown, man.
Let's say what a circus. Well, I mean, for us in real estate, it's been absolutely insane. But just watching the world right now, what is going on?
I don't know. You tell me. That's what I'm asking you. What's going on in the freaking world?
I don't know. I mean, every time I turn on
Hey,
the
just for the record, this is really good.
It's
I don't know what we
what
got
this
here.
is?
This tastes like a Weller or something.
So this
doesn't
is
it?
the Weller Antique 107. It's
Wow.
very good.
Okay. Way to kick off a Necessary Entrepreneur podcast.
Air cheers.
So, cheers,
Social
man.
Distance. Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers.
This is good. Are you good with it on the rocks, or does it need to be neat?
I did a couple rocks. I mean, it's different for everybody. If you do neat, it has a little bit more heat. Opens up the capillaries. But this
Well, that just opened up something on me. Holy.
Oh, it's good. You got a tranquilizer pour right there.
So
too.
give me the breakdown. So you're a bourbon connoisseur, right? Can I use that word?
Sure. Why
Okay.
not?
So you called it a Weller what?
I'm a man that likes to drink bourbon. I don't know how much of a connoisseur you'd call me, but I do have a lot of bourbon. So it's a Weller Antique 107. It's a red label. It's good. It's got like some peach notes to it. It's got a little bit of heat, a little bit of fire, but it's smooth. It doesn't light you up, burn your esophagus.
I don't know how smooth that tasted, man. I'm still feeling it a little bit.
Well, you don't have.
So we are in Kentucky. I'm supposed to know more of this, right? And here we have some bourbon barrels in here. I think we have a Knob Creek barrel.
You have a very impressive bar for what for a non-drinker,
right?
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
We take care of our guests, man.
Well, I feel appreciated.
So bourbon. So you're kind of a connoisseur. So give me the breakdown of this bourbon thing. I've been wanting to know.
Mm-hmm.
The big hip stuff like it's Pappy and it's that. So give me the bourbon breakdown if you're so.
Oh my gosh!
Make us intelligent.
So from a level from like 1 to 5, I'm probably a 2.5 to 3 on the bourbon scale. So I won't be able to enunciate as much as some of my friends, but it depends on what you're into. For me, I'd probably catch a lot of scoffs, behind saying what I like. I usually like wheated bourbons. I like older bourbons too.
What's that wheated?
So wheated, it's made with predominantly wheat. So Weller is a wheated bourbon, and the reason I really like Weller so much is because it doesn't just eat you up. I don't like heavy spice. I like things that are gonna be smooth. That are gonna be something like where if I was to hand this to a friend at a party, or if I had guests over, if I was doing a podcast and had some guests, right? It's a perfect, entertaining bourbon. So I don't know if you did this by design or if you just came, somebody's gave you the bottle, but it's a good bottle.
I think we put our best foot forward here.
You did pretty damn good.
So hey, you said 2.5 to 3 though. So give us some more. So give us. So we went down the wheated. Okay.
Yeah. So we have wheated bourbons. I mean, honestly, some of the bourbons I have are really odd. And as in real estate, I'm always passing liquor stores, right? And after a while, you get to know what stores have good stuff, what stores don't have good stuff, and it's like playing the lottery. Every time I'm driving past, if I got like a cushion of like 10, 15 minutes, let's see if they got anything in here, and you just get to know who has what. So for me, I have one I really like, the Joseph Magnus. There's finished bourbons. Joseph Magnus has 3 different casks.
Is it called Finish from Finland?
No.
Or finished?
Well, that's a good question, but no, it's finished.
Okay.
So it's finished in cognac and sherry casks. There's rye, right? So it has a very spicy, rye heat. So it's good. And then there's just like your standard bourbons. They're your more mature bourbons. So again, I'm a level 2, 2.5.
If this is 2.5, I don't know if I'd be able to handle a 4 or a 5.
Well, there's always so much more it's like real estate. There's always so much more you can know, and no matter how much experience you have, there's always more to learn, right? And so I kind of feel that way with bourbon. I feel like I know a lot with bourbon, but I feel like there's always more to learn. So yeah, I know a ton about bourbon, but I feel like you don't know what you don't know sometimes, But
so 2020. So we started off with this is a nice way to end 2020 here in December,
yeah.
right?
It's needed.
So I have some different perspectives, but you give me your take on 2020, and you brought up the real estate business, on you being in real estate.
Yeah. Yep. 2020 has been one of these. It's been one of these years where nobody predicted it. I remember right before St. Patty's Day, I remember hearing about this, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, is this going to come to America? Is this going to be something crazy? And, perpetually, like when you start hearing about the things going on with the virus stuff, and you even hate to mention it on the podcast, you just want to be a downer. We hear it every day. But at the end of the day, I'm like, this could come to America, right? And it was all the other things that we see, all the things that if I probably start naming them, it's gonna put a downer to the audience here. You know what I mean?
But that's okay. I'll bring us back up. You take us down, I'll bring us back.
Okay, sure, let's do it. So I just remember right before St. Patty's Day, everything's locking down and it's crazy, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, the sky's falling, right? I mean, it felt like Chicken Little. It was crazy. So for me, I was just like,
is that you in life normally a little bit?
That's absolutely not.
Okay.
No, it's absolutely not whatsoever. For me, I'm the type of person that I recognize patterns. And if I can deductively reason or deductively put together a pattern, I pretty much feel and have been able to call things as long as I see the majority of where it's going, know enough about the backstory of whatever it's going to be. I can kind of project where it's going to end up, or I feel like I can, and I can call things okay. But I felt like with this, I'm like, with it having the transmission rates that it does, being silent 14-day incubation period, you don't even know that you're spreading it, all these things. Now there's people that are, showing up in these different countries, and then these same symptoms exude. I'm like, the only way you could maybe stop this is if it's really what they're saying it is, and the intensity, right? And that's, everyone's got their opinions and data and whatnot. But I just figured that the only way I could see this going is for things to start shutting down, for people to start wearing masks, and I was saying this before people were doing any of that stuff. It was just, that was the only way it was going to end up, and so it did, And so from there, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm like, well, in real estate, I'm like, how's this gonna work? Who's gonna want to go out and do anything with the world being like it is, right? And so lo and behold, I mean, I started investing in some tech platforms that I was interested in to help me with some things to help me automate and grow my business that I've been eyeing for a while. And I just remember I was on the phone with one of them, and they said, well, why do you want this service? Why do you need this? Because they were asking, like, well, how many deals do you do? And I gave them my count. They're like, why do you need our service? And I said, well, I want to stop the bleeding because I'm afraid of what's going to come. And so I remember you have a coach in the beginning while she's teaching how to use the tech and how to do things. And she said, and we kept talking about the numbers we were producing for the months following. She goes, yeah, you're really stopping the bleeding, aren't you? Because the months just kept going crazy. And it's almost like the business and injecting into the marketplace from everything going on. It's just 2020 was something that I saw. So what I didn't call that the real estate market was going to do what it did. For me, I literally thought that everybody would shelter in place. They wouldn't want to go out, but really it had an adverse effect. You had a lot of people that they didn't want to be in the urban areas. They wanted to be on the outskirts. You had a lot of people that were condensed into apartments that wanted to have their own place. The interest rates dropped, so that incentivized people to now monopolize on these interest rates that were historically low. You had people that also were like, man, I own a home. I don't want to buy and sell. But at the same time, if these rates are what they are, now it's probably a good time to do it. And so it was this perfect storm of people that were just getting into the marketplace. But then you also had this caveat, this flip side, where you had a lot of people that didn't want to sell because they didn't want to be on the receiving end of that, right? So it was really weird because I didn't expect our business to flourish, and knock wood, I hope it continues, but regardless, I didn't expect the business to do what it did with all of the other factors in the world. I just didn't see it coming.
So let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
So you mentioned being Chicken Little.
Uh-huh.
So remember you said you're going to tear us down, I'll build us back up.
Mm-hmm.
But so
ooh, that's good.
How do you not let outside forces affect your mind, your mindset, who you are? Because it seems like that's the path that maybe your mind was going down, and maybe so many other people in 2020. So how do you find a way to make sure you can just be positive, control your mindset, focus on the things you can control, and don't let any of the external forces dictate your approach and what you do?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like that was a battle, and this was maybe a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So for me, anytime I've ever been depressed, or I've had like adversity in my life, or you go through a breakup or anything,
which is normal. We all deal with that.
We all do, but
your life's full of adversity.
Correct. And so I almost feel like for me, I defaulted on what I kind of did to remedy being in those situations. I defaulted to doing that here. And so really it was this tunnel vision. You focus on staying busy. And I've said this to people in the past, and there's a little bit of animosity when I say, I know that you're depressed, or I know that things, are bugging you, but stay busy. Because after a while, if you're out with a lot of people, and we didn't have that option with, COVID and whatnot, but if you're out with a lot of people, you may be a little bit sad or depressed or not really feeling, dealing with people. But the more that you're interacting with people, you may feel sad, but those people are happy to see you, and they're interacting with you, and they're smiling. And before you know it, you're smiling even if you don't mean it enough. And then before you know it, you're happy, because it's like this memory, the muscle memory, right? This repetition that you're in. But for me, it was sort of that with this life during COVID. I had to treat it the same way. I had to stay really, really busy. I had to take my mind off of the thing you can't change. And, a long time ago, I had a gentleman, a very successful gentleman, and he said, control the controllables. And it's one of those things to where, if you can't control the outcome of a certain situation, do everything you can to affect the outcome positively and your environment positively. But if you can't affect the outcome, what the hell are you doing?
How do you learn to do that?
I don't know, because for me, I think you just pick it up. It's a level of self-awareness. It's a level of cognizance that you just realize that there's nothing that exuding and putting energy into something that you have no effect of the outcome. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to change that. So at the end of the day, what are you doing focusing your time there? It's not time efficient.
But how many people do we both know that just don't have that mindset?
I would say
that just don't have the approach. And it's not that you're not judging the type of person they are. They're just not wired up in a positive mindset that they believe that they should take a positive approach, take the things that come your way, right? But then dictate the outcome and the actions you're going to have.
I agree.
So many people take what the world's giving them and feel like that's their outcome.
Yeah.
So why are you different? Like, how can you help these people and everyone who's like that? Because I don't think the average person wants to be that way.
Yeah.
But the first person to be aware, like, hey, listen, we're in a world of choices.
Yeah.
Right? You can choose your mindset. You can choose your approach. You can choose to take action. Or you can choose to sit at home on your couch and wait till there's a vaccine 18 months later.
Absolutely.
Right? Which you didn't do is what it sounds like. That didn't happen at all.
No.
So what do you do? How do you help people?
Yeah, I mean...
So I'm your friend.
Of course.
And I come to you.
Yeah, my friend.
But then I feel like I have the opposite attitude you have.
Yeah.
What do you tell me?
I mean, it's tough. So here's why I say this. So for me, if I look back, because when you're saying this, I'm replaying different scenarios, because you asked me a question and I didn't necessarily have the answer to it. Because I had a guy say control the controllables, but I can't say, well, there was one moment where I had this magical epiphany and I realized that was what needed to happen. Maybe I needed to hear it vocally, but I mean, we all come from a certain background to where, you could have a guy, and I have a very good friend of mine, right? He's a mentor of mine. I have a friend of mine. His father was an alcoholic, okay? And
I could relate.
Yeah, I know. You might even know the guy.
Yep.
So his father was an alcoholic, okay? He took the path in life. So, you hear where people come from a broken home, and what they do is it ripples, right? They become the alcoholic, right? Because that was normalcy to them. And so, but you can go one out of two paths, and the path that's the hardest to go down, obviously, is the one that we're talking about, and that's looking at a situation saying, okay, that didn't work. I don't want that, right? I want to focus on being anything but that. I want to focus on getting as far away from that as possible. And instead of having this be some negative in my life, some blight, and I think we're speaking synonymously to what the message is that we were originally talking about. But instead of it being some negative in my life, I'm going to use this as rocket fuel to travel as far away from that thing is where I came from. I want to get as far away from that as possible.
You have to learn on what not to be, correct?
Exactly.
So how do you help someone become that? Because, again, we both know so many people that it's this thing of they blame their past and what they went through versus saying, hey, that wasn't my fault, but I learned from it. I went through it. I see the adversity, and I realized what I don't want to become. Yeah. Right? So it's honestly an amazing opportunity because you didn't have to go through it yourself.
True.
Right? And so not to blame the past, but look at it as an example of what you don't want to be, and then go and live an amazing life.
Correct.
What is that?
Yeah.
Have you figured it out? Because we have friends, we have family members.
Yeah, I'm thinking of two different things. So I'm thinking of there's option one is obviously there's two things that work together. So the first one is you got to be observant to your surroundings, right? Not just self-awareness, but you have to just be aware. Because as a kid, I mean, I would look at people that would do drugs and different things, and I would see how it royally screwed them up, And I just was not that guy that really went down that path of making a lot of horrible decisions, because life was an open book test, and it is to everybody. I mean, it really is. You can look at everyone that's gotten.
You can't go back and erase the answers, can you?
You can't. No, exactly. And you can look at everybody around as an example, and you can say, well, there's a probability that if I do this, there's a high significance that it's probably going to end very badly, right?
That's a self-consciousness and self-awareness, though.
But that's
right. I don't think a lot of people want to make bad choices. So what puts you in a spot? So let's go back to this. Has to come. Ownership. What was it like to be Nick Foltz and to be a kid?
Yeah, that was great.
Like, what's that like? So you're 10 years old.
Yeah,
take me down the path.
Sure. I'll give you the background. So, me as a kid, I mean, I grew up in a, wasn't rich by any means, right? In fact, I would say we were probably the poorest house on the street, maybe close to in the neighborhood.
It doesn't feel so bad talking about it now, right?
No, it's actually it's humbling, and it helps me relate to so many people because
that's normal.
Yeah.
That's the normal world.
Yeah.
It's not the Instagram world. It's not the private jets.
It's a projection.
It 100% is, man.
It's not bullshit. You can have that, but you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start with your little pot and outgrow that pot and outgrow that pot. But you
so
have
the
to
10-year-old Nick, do I really want to know what this was like?
It wasn't bad at all.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. So I mean, I grew up in just a one level ranch, and I think that this helped me out a lot in my life, and I say this often. Not often, but I'll come around to it every so often. And it was just a little one-level ranch in a quaint little neighborhood, no basement, no nothing. And when everybody fought, everybody was part of it. When
everybody means mom, dad,
mom, me, my sister,
the cats, the dogs.
We had a dog and we had a cat for like 3 seconds. But yes, so everybody was involved in the feud, right? And so when everybody was having fun and doing stuff and listening to music and dancing, everybody was doing that, right? So it had the potential to be heaven or hell on earth, right? And it was both at some points, right? So it was a very good life. And then as time progressed, we probably stayed in that ranch. Well, it never. I mean, my dad still owns the damn thing, but I mean, we stayed in that thing much longer than we needed to. And from there, I think I learned a lot. So so I brought you up. I'm going to bring you down for a second.
So as a kid, it was a good childhood.
It was a very good childhood. And mom and dad had their differences. They got a divorce and stuff. But I didn't. Dad
which is very typical now too.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Dad drove a truck. Mom worked at the IRS in a cubicle for 30 years. And, that's what they did. I mean, I had nothing extravagant, right? We were bargain shopping, dollar stores, the yard sailing. We were just a couple, just a pack full of hillbillies back on Bluffside Drive. And we had the best time. We really did. And then things over time happen and mom and dad split. And you learn a lot, because you observe a situation and it sucks. Nothing's constant. Nothing's forever, And so... but you learn a lot from a situation. That the things that worked in that one level ranch, I learned from. The things that didn't work in that one level ranch, I learned from.
So why do so many people not?
I don't know, because I think that they clutch on to trauma, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong for doing that, because everyone has a different coping mechanism, and nobody is invalid for doing that. However, there is an unproductive way and there's a productive way, right? And then there's a lot of like subways probably in between that, that could work at different levels of potency. But I just think that people need to look at things, look at other examples around them and realize what works, view that as a process, and then realize that if they implement those same practices in their regular life, that they'll probably have the same outcome. I mean, they have an open book to suggest so, So I don't know. I think that I just thought, and I've always thought extremely differently, and it's helped me a lot.
Hold on. When you say you think differently, when you say that about yourself, that self-awareness, what's that mean? Like you think differently about everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I look at everything and I critique it. I look at everything
differently than what? Than you think other people look at it?
Differently than I see other people doing it. So unless they're shielding it, and I, maybe
how can you make that statement from the outcomes
from what's being currently done, in industries or with other people or ways you interact with people.
Your successes versus some other people, or
exactly.
some of their successes and maybe a failure in some other avenue.
You learn from them too. You learn from their successes and you learn from their failures. Mm-hmm. Those are just as potent as if not more than their successes, because you've learned this catastrophic, costly lesson that you don't have to go down that road anymore. You've sealed off that pathway with, sparing you pain. And so, you could do it that way.
So have you seen online, there's it almost seems like, politics are so volatile these days and religion's so controversial. And so, but then also there's some of these things, hustle and grind used to be a very positive thing.
Now it's tacky.
It is kind of tacky. Yeah. But so why do you think it's tacky now?
Well, okay. So I think it's because the people that use those buzzwords, it's sort of like realtors, right? 85-90% of the industry, they're part-time, and they say things, and you hear these things that make you cringe when you hear, if you're interviewing and you've got a few other realtors that you're competing against, and you hear, if you build the right level of rapport and create a good enough connection with your prospective clients, which I always work on, I want to enjoy it just as much as I want them to enjoy it. And so, but when you start doing that, there's this level like where the walls come down and you hear all the things people are saying and their experience and stuff. But I think after a while, the majority of the people that represent the buzzwords like hustle and grind and stuff, they seldom do those things.
Right.
They want to be respected for saying those things because they want to get the attention. They want the
or
girls
sell
to
the
look
book,
whatever.
Right, or have somebody watch their podcast or something.
BS. It's total BS. At least in my observation, there's some people that use it, unfortunately. But the problem is that now it's a reverse stigmatism. People look at you and they stigmatize you for using those words, even if you are the whole thing.
Even if you're the pillar of it, like the example of hustle and grind.
They're going to view you in the same boat.
Yep.
You're a
now, why is that? So why is that?
Because the majority overrules it. It's
is it because the majority of society now won't buy into those ideals about hard work, about you have to hustle, you've got to grind? Is that part of it?
I think so. I think that that's a little bit of it, and I also think that a little bit of it as well is, well, not even a little bit. I think that the majority of it is that people see the majority of people that use it not doing those things.
100%.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So you see so much so often. It's really controversial recently about, you hear people like, pull yourself up from your bootstraps.
Yeah.
Right. I hear that, and there's so much controversy on both sides of it. So when I say, hey Nick, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, what's that mean to you if I were to say that?
How do I interpret that?
Yeah.
I feel like it's insensitive.
Tell me why that is.
So I feel like if somebody says, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, it means whatever pain or whatever objections you have, I don't have time to help you go through it. Just suck it up and deal with it. You know what I mean? There's no like diagnosis or no problem solving, no like helping you through it. It's just like suck it up and deal with it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is that reality about what it takes to be uber successful?
Of course. I'm not saying that the message is wrong. I'm saying there's certain ways to deliver your message to create impact.
Let me ask you a question, though.
Shoot.
The people so often that have a problem with that idea, because you hear people say, well, you can't even do it. Like, how do you pull yourself up from a bootstrap, right? Well, I think where it's coming from is no matter what you're going through, right? Suck it up, deal with that's reality, and overcome regardless of what it takes.
I agree.
Right?
And everything we just said was that.
It is that,
but
right?
It's summed up in a very...
So here's the problem. For somebody that naturally feels like that's not possible, because I see that so often, and here's what I want to reflect on, too. You talked about your past.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't come from wealth, right?
That.
And so if there is an example of the adage of pulling it up from the bootstraps, I could write the book.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so the issue is I have no problem with people saying that to me because I'm willing to do whatever it takes no matter what.
Of course.
Right? So is the issue with the people don't want to hear it because they're not willing to do it?
Yeah.
Or can you really find a more sensitive, empathetic way to reconnect to have that person take action, or is all that effort just going to try to appease them? Because I have friends, I have family members, and people I love and friends that take this perspective, right? But in this world of entrepreneurship, of you being in real estate,
of course,
right, of achieving at a high level, because here's what we hear so often. We hear people say, it's so hard to succeed now in this society versus what it used to be. I don't believe that's true.
I believe it's the opposite.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because now you have tools that you never had access to. You have digital. You have you can now like blast yourself everywhere. You can be accessible to so many different people in different states and areas and zip codes, everything, right? You now have access to technologies. You have access to these things. And now there's so many different makers and providers of said technology or manufacturers that you can buy the tech for a lot cheaper than you ever could. There's YouTube. There's countless amounts of information instructing you how to do these
guess
things.
What? Say it with me, a four-letter word. Free.
Free. I thought we were going to say self-awareness.
No.
I'm like,
that's not
four letters.
letters.
Wait a second. What is happening?
So, how many pieces of content do you create? Do we create at the real estate company that's created, and it's created, put together, use technology, but it's put out on a social media platform, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook. You can put some stuff out on Twitter. You can do things on LinkedIn, and you'll have 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 views, and it costs you
nothing. Literally nothing.
If the content's relevant and it hits right and people want to listen to it or want to read it, then you have something valuable to the marketplace.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think it's actually easier because the tools at our disposal, we actually can reach these people now. Where used to, maybe it was a $20,000 ad campaign that now you can do it for free, or
Exactly.
spend $50 on running a Facebook ad targeting the people you want to target.
Mm-hmm.
So now maybe you can target 1,000 people for $100 at a high level per click, where if you paid for that same reach of that targeted audience, you may have to target 30 or 40,000 people on radio or TV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do we help those people? How does Nick Foltz, what's the message that you can say, hey guys, listen, it's actually easier for the average person, for me and you. We came from similar backgrounds.
I think we just said it.
Right? So
how?
how?
I think that's the content of everything we just said. I think is a sufficient enough message for that, because literally, I mean, what more assurance can we give people than saying that everything's free? I mean, not everything's free, right? I mean,
and what about the thing of people being really having low self-esteem, having lack of confidence, looking into your iPhone or your Android and having to record it? You have to try and get started.
Yeah, and you have to. I honestly think that for people overthink stuff, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to ride the coattails of a brand that's already established itself. And so I think that, for me, one of the things that helped me personally, that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but one of the things that helped me is I gave my message. I gave my story. I said things in my weird, eccentric, kind of fun, crazy, outlandish way. And people respond to that. But that's because it's authentic to me, right? So if you have people that are trying to take what maybe I'm doing and they're trying to pull some, like an imitation crab message of that, right? It's not authentic. It's not, people are going to be like, who is this damn guy? Because it's not authentic to who they are, right? So you have to figure out what your story is. You have to stop overthinking it and comparing yourself to Mark Perkins or Nick Foltz or anybody. And you have to look at what you're doing, and you have to be able to say, like, okay, who the hell am I? And like at the end of the day, one of the things I heard from I think a marketing trainer that me and you know, right, Kyle, one of the things he had mentioned is just treat it like you're having coffee with a friend, And I think that that's something to where I've never maybe heard it in those words, but that's always how I've treated it. These people know how that I got a big nose and I wear weird blazers and I'm, kind of talk with my hands and stuff, But they know these things about me.
And you wear pokey Louis Vuittons.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Christian Louboutins, but yes.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, it's all right. But anyway, yeah, they're real spiky, crazy shoes. But anyway, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, you have to be able to say your message. You have to talk about who you are, and these people know.
But what about if people have never done it, man? So many people, right? Think about when you took the launch 6 years ago to get into the real estate business and where you started from where you are to where you are now.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get started. So whether it's real estate, whether it's doing mortgages, whether it's you're the most successful tech entrepreneur,
whatever,
right?
Yeah.
Whether it's not even entrepreneurship and you're going to rise the corporate ladder inside some marketing company, whatever it may be, what makes people extend themselves and this willingness to say, okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to do this.
What makes people want to do it?
Yeah, what is it? But everybody wants to. Yeah. Everyone I've ever talked to in growing companies and building things, everyone wants to. And a lot of people think they have it inside.
Yeah. But that's it. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, okay? But nobody wants to put in the grueling nights, work until 3 or 4 in the morning, waking up at 8 or 9, or 7 sometimes.
Is that really what it takes, though? You read it in the books and you tell is that really what it takes?
No, but I'll tell you what. There's enough of a recipe book out there and enough stories you can learn from to know that if you're willing to do those things and you're willing to apply all of yourself, you got a pretty high probability of getting there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of people, they don't apply themselves. And a lot of people, they want the desired outcome, but they don't do all those minute steps in between to get there. So I think that it's going to suck. I mean, there's no elevator to
But
success.
if you tell people that, it's going to suck. That just deters so many people from starting. No. Is it more of you've just got to say, so here's what happens. So you disagree, though. So disagree with me then.
I will. So at the end of the day, I know, okay, the 1%, they did a lot of shit that the 99% wasn't, that they weren't going to do, right? And in most cases, 99% of the people out there, right, or the 1% did a lot of stuff that maybe the 99%. I can't speak as a whole, right? But I
can speak to it. I've seen a lot.
But you can say
the 99% for the most part, whatever category I fit into. I'm telling you, the 99%, the 98%, the 90, whatever you want to say. My family members and my friends, people I know, they weren't willing to do what the 1 and 2, 3% were willing to.
I agree.
It's that simplistic.
I agree.
So here's the thing, though. What made them, they didn't have a past history of this. You didn't have a past history of entrepreneurship or getting into real estate or being a salesperson.
but I knew what I wanted, and that's it. And I knew that by any means necessary, working my butt off, not doing crazy stuff.
Is that the mentality it takes? Like, you have to be able to do whatever it takes, no matter what.
I believe so.
Okay, well, if that's what it takes, tell me in the first 6 years of your career, what are the moments in real estate that you had to do whatever it took, no matter what? And did you have these moments like, I'm done with this, man?
No. Every day is a challenge, and I absolutely love what I do. I mean, I love it. And even the days that are difficult, it's like what we talked about. You learn so much from the failures. So for me, even the days that are difficult, I'm going to learn that if I'm ever presented with a negative situation equivalent to what I'm dealing with today, if I am dealing with one today, I'm going to learn how to handle it better next time around and become a better, more evolved, professional or human being or whatever.
So you never had challenging moments in your first 12 months of this career where it really sucked? Like you said, you got to do the tough stuff that sucks. You never had those moments?
What I'm saying is every day. So in the very, very beginning of my career, I mean, I just remember, like, I wasn't used to this. I mean, I used to deal, high limit blackjack in a casino. I was used to showing up at, 2 o'clock or 4 or 5 o'clock actually, and leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever that weird schedule is, something like that. But I was used to doing that. I was used to dealing and cutting up, and I still cut up and act like a fool. But I was just used to a much different rhythm of life. And then, you take that, you polarize it, and now you get thrown into an environment where you're constantly on call, you're constantly under pressure, you're constantly dealing with emotion, you're constantly dealing with different personality types, you're constantly dealing with a high volume of money. Well, that was everything for the most part. I felt like I had done the core nodules in my previous life anyway. But this was a completely different process and product, completely different animal. And so much so to where, I'll commonly say that real estate's not a career, it's a lifestyle. In order to do this, I think I'll take it a step further in saying, being a successful entrepreneur, it's what I think you'll have a lot of people on the show that are going to say the same thing. It is a lifestyle. You have to sleep, eat, and breathe. You have to be willing to fall asleep at your desk, which I did in the beginning.
But who determines success?
You do.
Because isn't it, okay, you're talking about the individual.
Yeah, the individual wants to be successful.
But do you have to have let's say, a mid-tier ranked person in any career? Does it have to be their lifestyle if they don't want to be that 1 or 2%?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So for what you wanted.
For what I wanted, yeah.
And let's be honest, for the people that say, I've always thought about real estate, they want what you got.
Of course, yeah. They do, but I mean, the thing is it's like what we were just talking about is everybody wants to be, they want to pull out the lottery ticket and they want to scratch it off and they want to see if they won, $200 million.
Well, you want to.
Of course
Would you give it back?
What do you mean?
Would you give back where you're at? Now, you said everybody wants it. It's desirable where you're at.
Yeah.
Would you just throw it in and say, I'll throw it back in. I'll go do something else and start over?
No,
right? So you ain't giving it back.
No.
So what they want is very appealing and appetizing.
What they want is appealing and appetizing, but I want a Lamborghini and I want a house in the Poconos. At the end of the day, if I really, 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 really want those things, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do anything it takes to go get that item. If I really, really, really want it.
So there it is.
Or lifestyle.
Where'd that mentality come from?
Just determined to run. I mean, like I said, my childhood was great, but for me, I just wanted a really cool life, and I've always been sort of a little kid at heart. I think I've been encapsulated in that time period, right? And that was safety for me, maybe at a time period. Maybe it's a mental thing, but for me, I just was so used to just being that playful kind of crazy kid, and I look at it like one of the things I always say to my family every once in a while. They harp on me about having kids, and I say, well, every bloodline has to have that black sheep, eccentric lunatic that has all these crazy adventures and brings it back to the family and does all these things, right? That person you might tell some stories about, good or bad. I'm that black sheep in this bloodline, in this family. That's me, And for me, I took that timeline, of maybe being a kid, and I just wanted to be that for good. So for me, I want to work like a lunatic, and it's taken being a complete adult and extremely professional and living by your phone and your computer and almost not having a life some days to be able to ensure that I can live that way for the rest of my days forever if I choose to be that, and do that. And I do. So for me, I think you have to be willing to put in all the tedious, minute steps. You can't lose faith in the process because, every day is going to feel very monotonous, repetitive, whatever that word
repetitious.
is. Tomato, right? I'm Italian. So repetitious. And, it's got to feel that way. But at the end of the day, you just don't realize that every little shovel that you pull up, I mean, you're that much closer to seeing the light, and people don't see that. That's why a lot of people, I think, in this industry give up within the first 18 months or whatever it is, right? They sell a couple homes in the meantime or whatever it is. I think it's because they don't realize that every day that they're just working at their optimal strength, that they're making a superb impact to where their future is going to go. And you have to really be able to commit like probably 60 to 90 days of working like a fool with this blind, crazy belief that it's all going to work out for it to actually start to. I think that, honestly. You just have to get in that muscle memory and that repetition.
Yeah, so the National Association of Realtors, it's somewhere around 78%, but it fluctuates every year. So 78% of the people that get a real estate license, that obtain a license nationally, send their license back within 18 months. That's a terrible failure rate.
It's not good.
Right, at anything.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is that that 78% of the people, they must not really understand or know what it's going to take, because you don't want to fail. You don't do this and put all the time in to go through the hours to become licensed, right, and then be trained and have a transaction or two, then you just bail out on the business and think that you're a failure and never try again. And so what advice can you give? Because you hear so often from the recruiters at Pivot at the real estate company, and you've built a team, right? Started out as you, but now you have a team of, I think, 4 people now, you and 3 others.
Yep. You
guys are going to sell 120 units, 130 units this year, 140, 100 and something.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great year. So many people that we run into say, I've always thought about getting into real estate. What do you think you can do to impart your wisdom,
of course,
on 100 out of 100 people to, A, help them decide should they go down this path of what I think is an amazing career?
I do too.
Right, I'm not going to get into it. This isn't about me. It's about you.
If I disagreed.
I mean, just an amazing career on so many levels. It's given me everything that I have. And how do you give them advice on should they go down the path of becoming a real estate professional? And then if they do, what do they need to be prepared for? How should they set their mind?
Yeah.
And how long should they try without quitting?
Yeah, I mean,
because that seems to be the problem. People are quitting.
That's a loaded question. Because there's a lot of different ways to answer that.
We'll answer them all.
I'm going to. So multi-step. So let's start with the fact that you're going to be on call a lot. You're going to deal with nights, holidays, and weekends. Be prepared to work. Be prepared to work under pressure. Be prepared to not, when you have to pick up the phone, you're not always going to have a pleasant conversation. And just be prepared to deal with the unknown and give it a big bear hug, like embrace the.
So that doesn't sound very appealing.
Well, I'm not done yet. So I think at the end of the day, this industry has the potential to be anything you want it to be. This industry has the potential to change your life. It has the potential for you to have maybe more time with your kids if you want that. But I think this is a vessel for you to really do some amazing things, and not just for yourself, because it would be a very hollow existence for me if it was just me having a good life. And for me, it's that you really get to benefit people in like the most exciting moment in their lives. I mean, so often, I was just saying this the other day to some clients of mine. We showed this place up in Ohio. And it was fun, and they were talking about like, well, we're gonna get married, and then we're gonna have kids, but first we need to go get a house. And it's like, I just regressed to so many times to where I seen clients of mine, and they get their house, they're all like excited, and then before you know it, like you see the engagement post, because you become friends with people, and I add them on Facebook and stuff. You see the engagement post, now you see, oh my gosh, we're pregnant. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, and you get to they become your family, literally, And I think that it's so rewarding in that way, because there's all these incredible people that I didn't know before. And, after doing a really good job for people, other people will tell other people about you.
But you met those people when you were a high-limit blackjack dealer. But you met them.
Some.
No, but you met a lot of people.
Depends on my clientele. Oh, yeah.
You met a lot of people. So what's different about
this? I had a lot of bases.
So what's different?
No, well, the difference is that I am contributing to somebody's well-being, And in a casino, I couldn't say that was the case, right? I didn't know how the cards were ever.
Maybe most jobs you can't.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to talk about any individual careers.
But this is one of them, okay? This is one where I know without the shadow of a doubt, if you do the right thing, you're not a sleazeball salesperson. You're an advocate. You provide value. You don't try to sell somebody anything. You really just do the right thing. You look out. You're prompt. You're responsive. And you're sort of selfless to a degree. I think if you really treat it that way, which is what I've done, I think if you really treat it that way, then it makes your job a lot better. People tell 4 or 5 other people, which you want them to do. That's how you can grow this thing sustainably, and you just ensure that you keep doing the same thing. I think that it's good because the outcome you provide to people is a very positive outcome if you're leading with all of those things. And I think that in itself just makes it incredibly special, because I've never seen an industry where you can provide that type of outcome and it can also create an incredible outcome for you in your life. That is just almost unheard of. I'm sure that there's a few remote industries in the world that do that, but I don't think there's any that you can really create an impact. You can really leave feeling just energized and incredible and accomplished and esteemed, and then at the same time be able to make a life-changing career, and keep growing up on that. So I think that my opening statement is really that, and I think that just be prepared to, in order to provide that to people, you're going to have highs and lows like anything in your life. You're going to have the same highs and lows in a casino. You're going to have the same highs and lows in a restaurant. You're going to have the same highs and lows on a cruise line or anywhere. You will have those same highs and lows, and they will feel semi-relative in any industry that you would ever choose in your life. This is just one where you actually are creating a positive impact, and you can also really, create a huge impact to your personal life too. So I think that it's great there, but you just have to be willing to just embrace a lot of things that are going to be unknown to you. Embrace a lot of difficult conversations. You're going to have to learn how to work under pressure and work on days that you don't want to. But I think we've all had career paths that have been like that. So, I think that this is a wonderful career path. I really do. And hopefully I answered a lot of what you just asked.
Well, how can you help somebody if there's such a high failure rate?
Yeah.
What's the issue there?
Mm-hmm. I think it's sort of what I was speaking to on, this kind of, people don't see every stroke that they're taking, every shovel that they're pulling up. You're one step closer to seeing that light. I don't think people see that. I think people just think this is horrible, or I don't have enough leads today, or I don't have enough people that, whatever, And I think for them, they get caught in this monotony of an unproductive career path, what they feel is an unproductive career path, and there's like a meme or like a little like visual, and you see like, somebody that's like digging, right? And they're giving up, and they're walking away, but on the other side of the wall that like they're digging on, there's like all these like diamonds I think we've all seen this. And then the other one is like a guy that's got like the little teeny gem, and like he just found it in the first like 2 feet of him digging, and the other person's all deflated like, oh gosh, and he's walking away. Well, on the other side you can see the whole wall, and there's all these gems, and it was gonna change his life.
So what's the approach? So is the approach, you just have to be committed regardless. And isn't that the issue, whether it's in relationships in life?
Everything.
Right?
Commit.
If you just have to commit and say, I'm going to do this until I get the outcome that I want.
Yeah.
Well, here's the issue. What happens to the people that just don't have the people skills, the natural instincts? Because there's a few for any career.
Correct.
Like, have me become a scientist. It'd probably be a disaster. Right? I mean, have me.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Right. I mean,
No
so
offense.
have me become like a pharmacist, or send me to med school, or have me be a tech entrepreneur. It'd probably be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So if I decided I wanted to go be a tech entrepreneur, wanted to go to coding class and come up with some new platform, and I'm failing and failing and failing, at what point do I allow myself to quit?
You don't. If that's your dream job. Like if I wanted
No, hold on. Was real estate your dream job, though?
You get what I'm saying.
Okay, no, I'm just going there.
You got to go all in.
Okay, but take dream job out of it.
Okay.
Because real estate wasn't my career path. Hosting a podcast wasn't the career path. You evolve, right?
But it becomes what you're committed to. You need to choose what you're committed to and what you're not committed to. If I say, I'm going to date this girl, but things can just hit the fan any day, so I don't know if I'm going to give her all my attention. I don't know if I'm going to answer her.
So they will at some point, because we all know the relationship bliss erodes.
Commit.
You're either committed to it or not.
Exactly.
So how does someone commit if they're just like, well, I don't know, or they can't make a commitment, right? So is the issue they're not committed to the outcome and sticking with it long enough?
Yes.
Okay, so how does the almighty, intelligent, amazing, all-knowing real estate guru and rock star realtor, how do you help people when they want to get into real estate?
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell them to make them realize it's worth it?
I mean, really, it could change your life, and it can change other people's lives. And I think, honestly, at the end of the day, you're going wherever you're at today. If you're even thinking about real estate, you're thinking about it because what you're already doing in your life isn't working to your standards. So you're at an impasse.
And it's so many people just aren't happy with their job and their career, but they keep on doing it because that paycheck shows up at the end of the week or two to pay those bills that they've had a lifestyle creep right up to what their income is.
Yeah. Exactly. You're at an impasse. And so you have to look at it like, I'm either going to continue doing the status quo, I'm going to continue in this monotonous cycle forever, and I know, without the shadow of a doubt, I know what the rest of my days are going to look like. Or I'm going to go to this thing that, maybe one of our recruiters, or maybe they're in a different state out of our jurisdiction, but regardless, they see the benefits or they hear of the benefits. You got to commit. I mean, because if you don't, you will just stay where you were before. And if you already have a plan B, plan A is never going to work. You have to expect to have bad days. You have to expect to not love what you do, right? There's people that their dream job, and we've heard of people, we've known people like this, their dream job was to be a nurse or a doctor or a surgeon. There are days that are horrible, right? But guess what they're doing? Their dream job. I'm not saying real estate was my dream job, but what I'm saying is you develop a passion for changing your life, and guess what? It becomes your dream job from there. You develop a passion for achieving a desired result, and if you really are emphatic and really care about what you are doing, that becomes your passion, and you can't give up on that.
Yeah, so you hear, I just get so tired of it. It's this elitist mindset. Some of the most intelligent and brilliant billionaires and wealthy people in the world say, you got to find your passion. Okay, that's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. Because if you sit back your entire life and waiting for your passion just to show up, and you hope that you trip over it, that's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Just because those few people feel like they found their passion, you know what they did?
Yeah.
They rolled into it. They chose to do something and realized they loved it.
Yeah.
They didn't. The average person, very minuscule percent, ever realizes, oh, that's my passion and I'm going to chase it down. Well, guess what? If your passion is freaking pro bono work, you better be happy with living in the cheapest apartment, not ever being able to go out to a nice dinner, and struggling your entire life and relying on others.
I'm not disagreeing.
That is the biggest load of crap. And I'll let anybody sit down here and have that conversation. Real estate wasn't your passion. No. You just ended up meeting someone and you thought, okay, they're doing pretty well. Seems exciting. I've always kind of thought about it like everybody else, but you committed to it.
Yeah.
And then what you find is when you commit, you can find your passion within almost anything.
Yeah, I think to segue on what you're saying, you said this a couple years ago, and I had always done this, but when you said it, I was like, yeah, it was good to hear you say it, because in the past, it didn't matter if I was serving at, a little restaurant in a strip mall, which I've done. It didn't matter if I was greeting people before they got on and off of their cruise ships, which I've done. Any of these weird, obscure career paths. Regardless, my thought process was I cannot, and this is a great practice, right? Maybe this will be some of the gold somebody could take away. You're not going to change the amount of time maybe you're going to be there. You have to do that gig, or you've elected to do that gig, right, for a set period of time, or to see if it works. While you're doing that gig, have so much fun and bring the energy. Really, I've done that since I was a kid, since I started working. Just bring the energy anywhere you go. That's not your dream job, but there's going to be something that if you really enjoy, or you make what you do enjoyable, bring the energy, have fun, that becomes something you're excited to come to.
Be the best damn thing you've chosen to be at the moment.
There you go.
Whatever it is.
So that's where I'm going. So be the best burger flipper there, be the best server there, be the best
You hear
greeter.
this from that's the other side of it. It's
that's it.
Because that leads you somewhere.
Yes.
It might be the contact you meet. You might end up realizing you love that.
Yes.
You may figure something out. 5 years later, maybe that person you were in the kitchen with cooking, maybe they started a restaurant, or they need some cash, or they call you up and want a partner.
Yeah.
If you have that passion, if you have an energy, and you make a choice, I'm going to go in and be the best damn, what they say, shoe salesperson, carpet cleaner.
Doesn't matter.
Lot scrubber, cleaner upper.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, commit. And so I would say that you've learned that. That has been the rule of my life.
Same.
So if anybody wonders and they look around how did that person become successful? What did the world give them the opportunity? The world didn't give them a damn thing.
Yeah.
Right? They ended up embracing it, committing, and they decided.
Bringing the energy.
That's it. They decided to be the best damn whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so then that leads you to places where you find passions within even the small, minute things you do.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's the advice. Cool. So if somebody wants to get into real estate, commit. Right?
Commit, bring the energy, and then you actually said something. It was a point that I think we didn't necessarily address, because you said something, and it was, well, what if the people that get in, they don't feel like they're cut out for this? They don't feel like they're an extrovert. They don't feel like they're...
At what point do you bail?
Well, so here's what I've said this in the past, and I've said this to my team. Everybody, and I think we can see agents even within our company. We can look at this petri dish. We can look at all these different examples of different personality types that are succeeding or not succeeding, and we can learn from just that, right? And so what I'll say is, take yourself. Let's use the restaurant model, because I think it's an industry that either we patron or we've worked there.
Every one of us probably worked at a McDonald's, a Subway.
Exactly.
A bunch of people have.
But so let's take ourselves even more so to the service industry. Okay, so at the end of the day, you'll see regulars for the person that's very meek and doesn't say anything. You see regulars for the person that's really awkward and they can't conduct themselves. And then you see, and everyone's got it in their mind that you have to be this like eccentric, over the top person. You do not have to be that person at all, because there's an audience that relates to you. That's very obnoxious to some people, being that over the top person. Not everybody likes that person. That person is a little bit more articulate and able to maybe voice what they're thinking and whatnot. But that doesn't make them any more appealing to the consumer base. Everybody's going to relate to a different personality type. They're going to seek comfort or feel comfort with different types of personalities. And so when I say that, I guess the carrot I'm dangling to people, or that beacon of light that I'm projecting here, is saying that you don't have to be like whoever you're thinking that you have, that is the good archetype for that industry of a personality. You don't have to be over the top, or you don't have to be meek. You just be you. Your audience is going to find you. There's regulars in every industry to different personality types. Different hairstylists, they have different types of patrons, and they don't have to be like the person next to them. And that's the beauty of it, because you're going to have a different clientele base that's going to relate to the way you describe things or the way you do things. They're going to like your story over my story, or vice versa, And I think that's good, is just have confidence in who you are. And when you're putting stuff out there, put it out there semi-shamelessly, be aware of what you're putting out there, but just put it out there and have confidence in yourself, and that people are going to like you back. There's an audience for everybody, for real.
So if someone wants to go down this real estate path, should everyone?
No.
Who shouldn't?
I don't think there's a lot of people.
There's 1.4 million
Correct.
members of the National Association of Realtors nationally. I don't know if all of them are realtors or affiliates, but 1.4 members, million.
Yeah. So
why shouldn't they?
I personally think that we have seen what the 85% looks like, of the industry. And there's nothing wrong with being the 85%. But what I mean is, you have to approach it and be willing to work all the time. You have to be willing to respond in times you don't want to respond. You have to be willing to commit and learn everything you can about said industry. And if you're not willing to do those things, if you're not willing to answer your phone on a Sunday, if you're not willing to do a showing at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, or take a call on Christmas, it's not you're not always going to get those things. But you have to realize that for people, this is the most important and the biggest thing that they're ever going to buy or sell in their lives. They've probably had a lot of memories between the walls of the house that you're listing, or the house that you're wanting helping them buy. They see a strong vision on what's to come for them in their lives. It represents a lot of future memories, and this is everything to them. And you can't, I don't think, and there's going to be people that see this and they're not going to maybe like me saying this, and that's okay, prove me wrong, but I don't think you can take a part-time approach to that. I don't think that you can choose when you respond to somebody or when you don't, or when it's relevant or when it's not. And I think that when I say not everybody should, you have to be willing to give the utmost level of care, even if that was your day off, even if you're on vacation. You can't just leave somebody on read. And I think that I'm going to say you have to be willing, and I know I'm being redundant, but I'm trying to tie in what we were saying. You have to be willing to commit by any means necessary, and you have to be willing to bring the energy. You really do. And if you're not willing to do those things, what you're doing is you're polluting the 85%. You're giving someone an 85% chance, which isn't good probability, that they're gonna have an 85% chance of finding somebody that's not going to respond or care. So unless you're willing to respond and care and really learn your craft, don't do it. But be willing to commit.
Give me one of your toughest times in real estate. Like, I'm sitting here, you've just turned this into amazing things in 6 years.
Yeah.
You don't get to this point without massive, right, hurdles, without pushback at times, without self-doubt creeping in, without a tremendous amount of failure.
Yeah.
Because I believe that's the best way we learn.
Of course.
Right? So give me a really tough time that you foresee other people, if they get into the business, they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah. I think that one thing that I have learned in this industry that has been invaluable is setting the stage and creating expectations. I think expectation is, and this is a quote, I'm not coming up with this one, but expectation is the mother of all frustration. If you don't set the right expectation and things start going sideways and you didn't tell people it was potential to go sideways, people are not going to like you. They're not going to be happy. They're going to feel like you've just thrown them into the wolves.
You've learned that.
I have.
By things going sideways.
Exactly. And so I think that that honestly, at the end of the day, I can't pick. I don't have one. I have a lot of different things.
Yep.
But I can say that they all led to be the same root problem. So instead of just dwelling on one thing, I'll tell you the multitude, the collective of what I've pulled. You have to be willing to tell people in the very beginning the good, the bad, the ugly. Say it with a smile. Have fun. Because before you even get invested, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be painful at times. And that's when it goes smooth, okay? If you're willing to say certain things and willing to coach people and set the right stage to people, when these things come, you don't say, I told you so, but you're able to say, remember that time when we talked about X? Well, here we are. It's okay.
So it's not just one or two. There's multiple situations in your first, 12
Tons.
months, 18 months, 2 years. You're still learning some now.
Of course.
But you start to get to this place where you've got it.
I can see a problem or I can see something going awry, probably compared to what I was, year or month 6 or whatever. I can see it maybe 10 steps ahead. I can just see it materializing. I see the risks with a certain personality type and know what that could mean to that type of person, how they might interpret going forward, things we might have with the listing, that all these things, right? I'm able to call that in real time up front usually. I'm able to say with certain personality types, the types that are extremely organized, the types that are always on it, I'm able to typically tell them, whereas I love your personality type, and I do, right? Because I like people that are on it as well, right?
Because you may be one of those difficult.
Because we get each other. Well, yes, but what I know is we are used to being successful in our professional lives. This is an industry where even though you're used to being in control and being organized, this is a situation where you can't always line up the way things are going to go. You can be on the ball. You can have everything turned in on time. You can do everything the way you're supposed to. But the other side, or a contractor, or a seller, or anybody, home inspector, appraiser, anybody, so many moving parts. Those are the people that idealistically you think that they would be the best people to work with. Those are the people that destabilize and cannibalize you really quick unless you tell them, you really are my favorite types of people to work with, but you need to know you're going to have you exceptionally because of who you are and your genetic makeup. You're probably gonna have a very bad time, And if you know,
how's that go?
It goes fine because in the very beginning, I'm so used to. I want to know that I like you as well, and vice versa. Then my first, hour, first whatever the first meet looks like, and at that point, I'm not even focused on all the BS. I'm not focused on trying to make a sale or get a listing. I don't care. I really do not care. I want to know it's going to be enjoyable for me, and I want you to enjoy me and get to know who I am. And it's not going to be salesy whatsoever. We're just going to have fun, and I'm going to get to the point. I'm not going to give you a bunch of fluff or none of that stuff. But I also want to have a good time. And you get to a level where you can speak to these people to where when you say that, you're cool.
It sounds like this industry has developed skills in you. Mm-hmm. That there's not too many places that you could have developed those.
I agree. Well, what this industry helped me do is polish those skills because I've always been, every career path I've ever done, and this is by design because I love people, has always been in the forefront of humanity. Everything has been service oriented, dealing with multiple different personality types, working under pressure.
So what types of careers? Let's say jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But give them to me.
Okay, yeah, well, jobs is actually better because I'm not there today, am I? Okay, so
give them to us.
Yeah, okay.
To relate to the average person.
I started as a busboy in a Chinese restaurant, a local Chinese restaurant that's very, very popular here. And so from there, I was cutting up with my tables, and I knew the family and all this other stuff, and I was acting like a fool then, got to know the regulars, and but from there, progressed into fine dining a little bit more. I went to, did the high limit thing in a casino, high limit blackjack dealer, dealing with people on the fly, high volumes of money, dealing with situations that are obviously very bad at times and having to overcome them, obviously having to break the awkwardness because, I had a guy, he, and we're not going to get down this road too much, but I walked into a table and the guy had $4,000 and within 20 minutes with me, he made like $96,000 in just a snap, right? And then on top of that, he loses it all, right? He proceeds. And I'm like, what do you go away, get out of here, And he's just like, I don't care. He was an app developer. He was very successful. But you learn a lot about dealing with people in weird moments.
So what else? I mean, didn't you live in Miami for a while?
I lived in Miami.
And you were doing DJ.
I was a DJ for a while. Lived a block away from the beach. Block and a half, couple blocks or whatever away from the beach.
What are some of the places you were a DJ in for? Like, did you?
Yeah.
Were some of the clubs still there, or what? What were the areas?
I don't know. I haven't checked in, but DJ'd in the Everglades. Did just some club nights. I had a weekly on the beach. It was called Beach Bar. Played like electro house, and stuff like that. Just stuff where I could bring the energy. Right? This is where I could dance and act like a fool and have fun. But everything I've ever done, there has been an hourglass over my head in every industry. There's always been pressure. Pressure if you don't perform, right? Pressure if you don't perform as a DJ. Pressure if you don't perform as a server. Pressure if you don't accurately deliver as a blackjack dealer. Always pressure.
So did all of those experiences, were those critical, leading you to this path that all of a sudden, when this real estate world showed up on your front porch and you tackled this, and it's way more pressure than any of those ever thought about being, that you were prepared?
Yeah.
So this is something to help people with. If they haven't dealt with multiple pressurized jobs or what they thought were careers at the moment, they maybe should think twice about not going down the path of a real estate career. Is there a chance of that?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I mean, I think that depends on the level that you want. But for me, that has been normal for, probably 20 years, working under significant amounts of pressure. And even before that, doing stage acting, theater, independent films, all of that stuff, right? Everything was, if you made one insignificant mistake, that was
Didn't
it.
you have, like, this movie wasn't that big. It could have had the chance to be big. Didn't you have a moment in Gotti?
Oh, yeah.
Did you? The one with John Travolta?
Yeah.
Like, what was the scene?
Oh, it was
Would
great.
they pay you like $20 to do this or something?
Probably not even that. So.
But give it to me. I saw the scene.
Oh, my God. It was,
so when was it?
So the scene I was in was like the coolest scene in the movie.
And the movie was just not good.
And the movie was, sorry if anybody's watching this that was
sorry. And the topic with Gotti and the mob and all that stuff, like everybody's it had the chance to be amazing.
The genetic makeup of something incredible.
I bet you were so excited.
Oh my God, how amazing this is going to be.
So your scene, set this up for us.
Yeah, so okay. So, me, Sicilian bloodline heritage, right? So obviously I'm like the typical Italian American one, like, the mob, this is great. So I love all of that, right? And so when I was in college, I remember doing like a presentation on the mob, and it's just this huge, just loved it, right? Absolutely love it, right?
So the moment shows up.
Yeah.
Your whole life has led to this moment.
Exactly. So
you get to be in Gotti. You show up. They actually wanted you to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so they had a mass casting call online, and I'm like, this doesn't sound legit. So there was a mass casting call where you could show up, and then it was like you're doing like a mugshot or something, and you'd hold up a like a dry erase board. You have your name, and then like your phone number and your email. And they like just take a picture, and then like you go away. And months went by, and I'm like, okay, well that was a flop. Nobody's calling me, and I'm hearing of them shooting the movie. So I'm like, So anyway, so then I get my call. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna.
It's the moment.
This is it, right? I get to be the guy in the background chewing gum and like reading a newspaper, some insignificant. So, but anyway, it actually evolved. So I ended up going there, and I just me, like any environment I'm in, I just want to get to know everybody. There's no angle in mind like there. I just wanted to just have fun, get to know everybody on set. And so I just remember the casting gal. She said something to me. She goes, actually, you're going to have a different role now. She goes, here's what you need. And like, they sent me an email, and it was like, you need like a trench coat, and like, you need like scarves and like all this crazy stuff, and like the big, crazy hat. And I'm like, oh, what is this? Right. So, okay. So one of my favorite parts of mob history was the hit of, and we're going to get a little crazy.
Let's go with it.
But the hit of Paul Castellano.
Yeah, man. At Sparks Steakhouse in New York City.
What's up.
Lower Manhattan, baby.
Yes. Okay.
Why are we getting so excited about somebody being knocked off?
Because it was amazing. I don't know. What?
Okay. Yeah, he was like the godfather of godfathers.
Yeah.
Right? Was this like 86 or 85?
He was right before Gotti. Gotti was trying to usurp him.
Yeah.
And so,
do you know the history behind that?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, but
the mob and Castellano.
He was a businessman.
So it was the Gambino family. We had 5 families, right?
Your table,
no, so Castellano especially was anti-drug. So a lot of the mob, a lot of times, they would say, hey, you can go and do all these things, nefarious things, but you can't get into the drug business. They said that, but they always kind of had these side hustles and people feeding the money. Castellano, that supposedly that was his thing. You can't get in the drug business. And so Gotti's crew, right, so he was a captain, his crew was getting into big-time drug stuff, and they went down. The FBI was taking them down with Giuliani and all this stuff.
Yeah. Rico and all that stuff,
So he was taking them down, and they were pulling all the so if Castellano, which they think through testimony, and Gotti and all his guys, Ruggiero and all his buddies, they had him on tape talking about these drug deals.
Yeah.
And it was going to come out in all the testimony, and Castellano was going to find out there was finally evidence that Gotti and them. So what they said was one of them was going to get knocked off.
Yeah.
So Castellano was trying to make himself legitimate and operate in more legitimate businesses, and Gotti was like a street guy, right?
Yeah.
So
cool.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, so that's one of your moments.
Well,
that's like the big moment in the mob history of the 20th century.
So that was one of the 4 hitmen.
Okay.
So I got the gun down Paul Castellano. So that's what the outfit.
So the meeting, there was the whole meeting, and you're sitting around there. Gotti's talking to you guys and all this stuff.
So basically with us, so
Travolta's Gotti.
So Travolta's Gotti, and the whole time he's walking around set, he would just be in his own little room. He'd be like, oh, how you doing? What's going on? And so he'd just be talking to himself, and it was crazy because you couldn't acknowledge him as John Travolta. He was in the damn zone. And so I just remember everybody's like, don't talk to John. Don't say anything to John. Just leave John alone. He's he's going to, act like Gotti throughout set. You just leave him alone, let him do his thing. So I'm like, okay. So I just remember I go into the room, and I remember they already started doing like where they're setting everybody up in their respective spots. And so I kind of came in, and when I did, I got done shooting something or doing something else. I had to run across the Netherland Plaza Hotel to this big
downtown Cincinnati.
Yeah, and so I got them doing something anyway. I show up in the room, and I'm like, I'm like late to the scene, so I'm like putting on like my trench coat and everything. And when I'm doing that, John Travolta, I thought everybody was in there.
Who's Gotti?
Yeah. So Gotti, John Travolta, he walks up. He's right to like the end of this table, and he walks up and he's putting the stuff on. And I just remember like, the hell is going on? Like and there was nobody. Like there was nobody around. Everybody was in there, and there was just a bunch of tables. And he's just like, sizing me up and just, getting his like, persona. And I just remember like I wanted to be like, I freaking love you, by the way. I wanted to say it so bad, and
you might have gotten fired at that moment.
Whatever. But looking back, I didn't want that to happen, so I didn't say anything. And now I'm like, I should have just said it. But especially after seeing that movie, like, whatever. But
do you have that like snippet cut out so you go home and play it? You don't even play the whole movie.
I think I got it on my phone somewhere. Actually,
of course you do.
I don't know where it's at, but I think
you've never been called again for another acting part.
No, I've done quite a few after that. But with so we go into this stupid scene with Travolta. And when he walks in, I just remember having like this, and I wonder with other actors, other people that have done these films, like they're probably thinking the same thing. They have to be. And I just remember like he walks in, so like I get set up where I'm supposed to be. They tell you what else we're supposed to be. There was almost like no formal rehearsal. Like there was a couple like really cheesy run-throughs. And then after that, he walks in, and then it's like we're just supposed to be doing the thing that we just did like a couple times, right? And just get it perfectly. And then we've done it a few takes. But I just remember like having this moment of like this like existential like, okay, this is really weird. Like this inner monologue of like, okay, I'm in a scene, but John Travolta's in the scene with me. He's Gotti, but he's also telling me to kill people. He's telling me to kill Paul Castellano. I remember doing the stupid presentation in college, and here I have John Travolta telling me to like bump off. Like it's the most surreal, weirdest thing like ever. And you're in the scene just kind of just like taking it in like, and I'm just supposed to act like normal. And you did. You're right. I got the face, and but it was just the weirdest thing.
So if everybody... Of the millions of subscribers
of
our podcast now, they all get to go to that movie, suffer through all of it, and go find that moment.
Yep. It's like the best like snippet. It's just, that's it. It's like
of course, it's the best.
Yeah.
Hey, so since with your Sicilian heritage, oh my God, here we go. Is it your mom or your dad's side?
It's my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just lost one of your best friends, Giovanni. Who's your cat? What's your cat's name? What was your cat's name?
Oh, Angelo.
I always do that to you, man. So Angelo.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Angelo.
Oh man,
that was your buddy.
Yeah, he was my buddy. Yeah. It's honestly it's been tough, man. I mean, so Angelo was actually my uncle's cat, and he was named after. This is the story. Okay, my uncle Angelo was allegedly he knew people in Sicily.
He
right?
named a cat after himself.
What? My uncle. Well, he named it after my great uncle.
Okay.
So my uncle's
named
Quinn.
All right, sorry.
He named Angelo after our great uncle who was, he was in Sicily. He was established in Sicily. He knew people. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's where Angelo's name came from. And Angelo, Angelo was he was an amazing cat. He was the weirdest cat ever because he would sit up. Everyone called him Buddha. He would sit up on his like butt, and he would just, he just had like his paws like out or whatever, and he would just sit there and just, kind of. It was the weirdest thing, like sleep, but he was sleeping while he was sitting on like the hump of fat on his back. Or it was just the weirdest thing, and everybody would just be like walking, like whenever they were at my place, and they're like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, why is a cat sitting upright sleeping? And it was just this odd, And he was just a really unique cat. He'd talk to you. He wasn't like a regular cat where he was mean and didn't like, he didn't do bad stuff. He was just a very tame. He was like a little person just walking around. It was very odd. And but Angelo was great. So my uncle got Angelo. I guess somebody discarded Angelo under a bridge, and it was him and his siblings. He was like in a bag under a bridge. And my uncle decided to take the bag of kittens or whatever, and they gave them all out besides Angelo. He had a really good life for 7 years before I got him, 7-8 years. And then my uncle adopted a kid, and that kid just couldn't deal with Angelo. So they had to. So I babysat Angelo, and then my uncle. I'm like, when are you going to take this cat back? This 1 month to 3 or 4 months. Like, when are you going to take this thing back? He's like, well, how do you feel about keeping Angelo? It's like. Okay, he's part of the household at this point.
So he lived for like 20 years.
20 years. He was almost old enough to buy alcohol in human years.
Is that why he's like, man, my dad drinks way too much. He can't be sending
Dad's pretty tame, actually. As much as Dad likes bourbon, he doesn't drink.
He's going to send me down to the liquor store because you had that little bag you carried him around in where
it looked like a little rocket ship.
I've seen you set him down at the bar with you, and
it was stupid.
You got it.
So
I did that to get attention.
I did an Instagram story where I had went with a friend of mine, and it was really weird because. I had him at a wine bar that I really like in Covington, and so I took him in the bag, and I just was like, you know what, I'll bring Angelo down because people bring their dogs here. So I'm like, why not bring a cat down, right? I mean, what's the rules against that? So I brought him down, and I set him inside of the inside of the stool or whatever, right beside me, and I had a glass of wine, and I just relaxed, and people were like, reaching through like the bag, petting the cat, and like he's like climbing on people's like chest and like sleeping outside. It was the weirdest thing ever, and so I was like, what? How about we go check out, because there was a rooftop bar down the street. I'm like, well, how about we go here to the rooftop with the cat in the bag? It was the dumbest night ever. And so I was like, well, let's go up there. So we go up to the rooftop bar, and we're sitting on like these like suspended like swings and like wicker and all this crazy stuff. And so I just remember people kept coming up like petting Angelo. And then at the end of it, I'm walking back, because it's right down the street from where I live. I'm like walking back, and there was those bird scooters. And I'm like,
yeah, where'd those even go? There was a million of them here, and then they were just gone.
I think it's COVID. I think it's everything happened with COVID. So anyway, we came back, and I was like,
COVID with the scooters?
I don't know.
You can distance yourself on a scooter.
I don't know. Maybe they're thinking like contact, or I don't know. But yeah, they were everywhere. But I was like, well, I was just gonna go home, but there's two. It was me and my friend. I'm like, there's two perfectly good scooters just waiting to be tapped into, and we could go to the other side of Covington, and I could give Angelo his first ride on the scooter. I was like, how crazy is this going to be? Some guy with a cat zipping around the neighborhood. So I was like, let's do it. So we untapped it, and like we zip over to the other side, and like we were essentially bar crawling.
What was like a couple miles away?
Yeah, maybe a mile and a half. But anyway, it was.
Where'd you put the bag? Where'd you put the bag on the scooter?
It was on my back. It was a backpack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A backpack?
So, I mean, he was like zooming. It was like he was sitting in a car, I mean, he had like a little seat back there, and he was just flying, So, whatever. He was happy, I think.
So
but I did a whole Instagram story with him being
so
a spot.
Give me some great things, your best experience in real estate.
Oh, my
So we talked about the tough stuff and what's challenging, but now if you had to give the sales pitch on this life you've built.
Yeah.
And you've built it in 6 years, which is a very short period
yeah.
of going from being an employee somewhere, making an hourly wage, knowing what your outcome is. Because my definition now of insanity, how it's evolved, you know how a lot of people, what's the normal definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right. Okay, so my definition of insanity now is choosing, not having to, because people choosing to do a job, a salaried or hourly job, when on January 1st, you know exactly what the next 12 months are going to derive for you.
It's like prison.
That is, you better really love what the hell you're doing. I mean, really love it, and just accept this plateau that's happened in your life.
Yeah.
Because that, in 12 months of that existence, no wonder why so many damn people are depressed.
Yep.
No wonder why in these COVID times, right, and all this massive just wave of adversity that's hit everyone, no wonder it's tough for a lot of people to deal with, right?
Yeah.
because they had these lives that were just set and planned out, and nobody ever woke up from the slumber to realize, like, wait a minute, there's a life happening here that could go one way or another. I actually have a choice. I could choose to do better things or not. And wait a minute, the car came off of autopilot because there's a lot of traffic ahead. Oh my gosh, my car sucks. It overheats. I don't like it anymore when they started looking around.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened to so many people.
Yeah.
They've looked around in COVID times and they're like, I don't like my life.
Yeah.
So
this is an awakening for a lot of people, I think.
Well, listen, I think it's an awakening even for the people on the positive, optimistic times to be happy in some of the choices that you've made, to now also realize that you can even grow and develop even more.
I don't want this anymore, right? Is what people are thinking.
Tell us about just an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Or the reasons. Just give me a great moment.
Yeah.
In this business and secures.
You know, I'll probably give you the great moments or great reasons. You know, it's been unreal. I mean, not just how much my life has changed, but like how close I am with so many of my clients. I mean, you know, like I've had like where, you know, like I take them when we were able to do things, right, last year and beyond and before. But like I was able to like bring clients like ringside seating and like the like VIP, like at the fight night punch out, and like take them like tasting dinners and stuff. I do like lotteries for people that have worked with me or had referred me in the past and stuff, just to try to just give back. But it's just crazy over the years how close you become with people. You know, I mean, I think for me, like partially the why has been like I have like. You don't think, like in the beginning, I really had this moment, and I was like, what am I doing? It's like, and this probably people can speak to this, you know, probably as an entrepreneur in general, because of that bringing the energy and committing all in, right? It requires you to step away from all of the things that you know comfortably and regularly and you love. Your friends, your family, and those things in the beginning, really kicking it off hard. It takes a lot from you. At least it did for me to create what I've done, right? And maybe somebody could create that with not doing that, but I think it just required me being all in. And but there's just a moment like where it's a little lonely, you know, like creating that. And but after a while, you know, you don't see a lot of friends, and then you get to a point to where now I'm making all of these friends from people that I've helped, and like I'm helping them do things, and like I'm seeing their whole lives change. You know, I had some people, man, they're just. You know, I say this about so many of my clients, and I mean it, that they're some of my favorite clients. You know, I just love them so much. But we just had our 4th time working together. And, man, they're wonderful. They're a listing I had probably 2nd-ish year. Anyway, but they just, you know, people, hearts of gold. We sat down there, and we were just the type of people, we just got each other. We could sit there, and we could talk for hours. And the pre-listing appointment, like how I talk about, just getting to know people, make sure that we all like each other, and we're all having fun together. Mark, we just talked so much to each other, and over the course of time, I sold that house. I helped them go buy a new house. I helped their daughter. I helped their daughter again, and then, you know, finally it got to where this is their 4th transaction, but they just bought an investment property, and you know, just over the years, you just get to know people and you just love them. You know, they're just like, it's like having like a friendly neighbor, like you know, someone in your family. Like you see them and you almost feel pretty close, you know, pretty similar, you know. And I think that a lot of that is just after you spend that much time, and there's a lot of emotion sometimes in a real estate deal, and there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot that you're doing. I think that after doing all that together, there's you know, that you really get close to people, and I think that for me is such a huge thing. It's an added bonus, but I think that's partially one of the things that makes this career so exceptional. You know, is because it is a lifestyle, like I had said earlier, but it's something to where it's a lifestyle in a very positive way. Like these people, they're not just clients, they're not just people you're helping buy or sell a home. Like you really care about these people, and you'll do anything for them. And it's cool to get to that point with people. It's cool to see people getting engaged and having their 2nd child and moving out. Now, you know, hey, I remember you when I first worked with you. You were buying your, you know, a condo as a starter. Now you're getting some crazy high-end home in, you know, in Fort Thomas or wherever you're going to get it. And like, good for you. Like, thank you for including me in this whole like lineage, this whole sequence in your life. Like how cool it's been to see you start this and see you here at this point. You know, thanks for everything. You know, thanks for the referrals or whatever along the way, but thanks for the memories. And I think that's huge to me.
Yeah. So what's 2021? What do you think it's going to be? We all have to make these predictions in our mind.
Yeah.
Your business planning, you're doing tech spends.
Oh, yeah.
What's it going to be? You have your team. You have a new team member coming on board.
Yep.
What's 2021? What's it going to be? What's it going to look like for Nick Foltz? What's your prediction overall so we can come back at the end of 21 and say, oh, you remember when you said that? You were wrong.
We'll see.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
What do you think? What do you think this is going to look like?
So I think here's my projections or my plans. So my plan this last year was, I always do a summit with my team. And so a summit's a retreat basically where, we're talking about business, but like I'm making it rain wine and cheese and amazing food. And, there's a good portion where I got a whole keynote and I'm going over every weird strategy we're going to do, different tech, we are getting in it, right? I talk about what our projections are. I talk about what everything, and I just keep adding to the things we've built. And, anyway, but one of the things I said this last year is, become a presence in the marketplace where it's starting to become scary for our competitors. And I think we've started to do that. And I think that now my goal is to really press that. And I think that with this fourth member was actually a client of ours that we just love to death. And she was on again, off again in her search for upwards of almost 3 years, believe it or not. She took a break and then she got back in it, but the whole time we're communicating and interacting and stuff. And she just has a great ability and great energy, which is something we really look for in the team. You can't just be good at your job. You have to really give a good energy because we want that level of service to translate to our clients. But for 2021, our goal, and it's going to depend on what the world's doing and all these other factors, but let's say that we're where we're at right now. Goal is to definitely be a force of nature, even more so. And I think that with her, I think we're going to really have ourselves. We're going to have a lot more appointments with people. We're going to have a ton more business, probably a really crazy amount of business. For me, I think digital and all the things I do really well. I think I'll be able to launch that with her taking care of bringing in some people that maybe I didn't know from my base, not my referrals and people that, my sphere and, some other prospects and stuff, but a different set. And I think with, Brian on our team, he's really developing a lot and he's really he's doing exactly what me and you were just talking about. He's starting to bring the energy and he's starting to commit and he's starting to he wasn't passionate about it in the beginning. That was an adversity that we had, but he gets it.
Who is he? Is he on your team?
Yeah. So Brian on my team, he's our third member to our team. And, I would say I can't really call him a buyer's agent, but he is our third member to our team. He can list, he can sell, he does those things great. But he was somebody that effectively, when me and Samara got to a point. So
who's Samara?
So yeah, great question. So Samara is our team transaction coordinator. My business got to a point to where it started to grow and get really insane. I didn't want to grow a team, and it got to a point to where I didn't want to ever feel like I wasn't able to give that personal experience to my clients, with it not just being me communicating with them. And I really had to let go of it for a second. And me and Samara had linked up, and she's incredible. She's she's a lot of things I'm not in good ways, and she's such a ball of wonderful, warm, delightful energy, and she has this level of care, which I think we all have that. But it's just different. It just translates different, I think, from everybody. But she's such a great backbone to our team. So she interacts throughout the back. She's our transaction coordinator. She interacts throughout the back end of the transaction, and she also develops her business as well with us. Right, we're all under the same umbrella. And then Brian, when me and Samara got to a point to where we started growing, and it started getting to the point to where it's wonderful, but we started growing to the point to where it was starting to get physically a little overwhelming, to where I wanted to make sure Samara and myself stayed on the rails, and the level of service that we were able to give to people was consistent and it was good and people were happy with it and we could sustainably grow. Then enter Brian. We needed a third member to kind of, we needed a third member to sort of delegate or help us balance that weight, counterbalance everything going on. And I feel like with Brian, with, the sales and the volume that we've done, even in a year where we projected it being polarized, just the opposite. Now we're at a point where We have a couple people we're going to bring to our team. We were just very fortunate that Heather had decided to take the leap with us. I think she's going to add a lot to our team. She's got the energy and the care level, and she's very acute. She's very on it, but she's just got a dynamite personality. And I think that she's going to help us balance even more. But at the same time, what she's going to be able to do because of who she was previously, she's going to be able to just throw a lot of volume in with our team, and we're going to be able to make her a weapon. And I think vice versa. I think there's going to be a lot that we're all going to be pretty lethal in this marketplace.
Good. So exciting things from the business perspective.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the world with your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky marketplace you're in?
Yeah, I mean, it's very exciting what's going on with the marketplace right now. We have all these walkable neighborhoods that they're blowing up. You know, we have a lot, and things have, you know, they've throttled a little bit with COVID, but you have where you have a lot of new restaurants, and you have you know, parks, and you have bars, and you got a lot of different things, hotels and everything. And so it's exciting to see how much of this like walkable infrastructure. I mean, I remember when I did move to Florida, I mean, and I just, you know, I told this story earlier, and what I was saying, it was actually to a client of mine. She moved here. She's Italian, actually. She's actually, you know, from Italy. And so I was just talking to her earlier, and I said, you know, I reached a moment in my life where, like, you know, my career and everything had just stopped. You know, it just wasn't good in my life. And then I moved to Florida, and, you know, just on a whim. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to remember where the hell I was going.
You're going to tell a story about walkable neighborhoods.
Walkable neighborhoods. Okay,
hey.
Here we go. Hey, welcome back, Nick. Okay, so the story basically behind that is that when I moved to Florida, I was pursuing something else because this area was very stagnant for a while. There wasn't a whole lot to do. And I
would challenge that, but that's a whole other podcast. Because I bet in that moment where you felt it was stagnant, there were people succeeding. There were.
It's not a career stagnancy. It's not a career stagnancy. It was an entertainment stagnancy. I had big ambitions, but didn't meet the local area from an entertainment perspective. Didn't meet who you wanted to be and where you wanted to go. Correct.
Okay, so you made the right choice. You decided to move and track it down somewhere
else. And where this tied into the real estate industry is because this area had went from being an area where maybe you have a coffee shop that's open till 10, maybe you could go to a Myers and hang out. Like, there wasn't anything to do.
Myers is a grocery store, right?
Exactly. You know, but back in the day,
wow, you've come a long way. Hanging out at grocery stores to find exciting entertainment.
Thank you.
I'm glad you moved to Florida.
Taught me a lot about the real. No, but I always had a thirst to do a lot. Well, now Cincinnati, it's like we filled this void in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky marketplaces because I think everybody was collectively bored and felt the same thing I felt when I moved to Florida on a whim, that they were just bored to tears. And now you see all these amazing parks, all this urban revitalization.
What a cool city, right?
Oh, my God,
I think
amazing.
It's the 30-something largest metropolitan area in the United States, but doesn't it offer all the stuff? We're 15 minutes from an international airport. You have all the sports. You have all the cosmopolitan things. You have all of the arts. It's incredible, the things that we have, and traffic is amazing compared to all the enormous, huge cities.
Yeah.
It's an incredible place. We have all 4 seasons. It is a really cool place. So no matter where you go, it always feels like, hey, I'm coming back home. But now it's something special of just a cultural awakening.
Yep.
Right, of what's happening in the urban core.
I think that people right now, I think the reason it's like number 36 or 37th, whatever.
Yeah, it's like what's happening to Austin. Like everybody's leaving California and running to Austin, Texas, right? They're moving to Florida. Well, guess what? Cincinnati's got a pretty damn cool thing happening.
Yeah.
And even on the Northern Kentucky side of the river.
I agree. I think people just, the only reason it's like 36 or 37 is because people don't know about it yet.
Yeah.
I think that once people realize the depth, because, you know, one of my things is like, I don't get to do it a whole lot in real estate, but I loved to travel. I always would travel. And, you know, used to go to Manhattan once a year, go see a friend of mine, and Chicago and stuff, you know, but you see those cities, and it used to be those were an escape, and now
they don't have anything on Cincinnati.
They have some, but it's just
not really, not enough to go do it.
I agree. The only thing I will say that they have that I think Cincinnati is going to change, and this is what Cincinnati needs to do. There's a few places that do this. They need to be a lot more intentional. They need to be a lot more bold because,
think about some of the stuff that happened though. I don't know who put it on. It was the where you'd walk around the city and see all of the light shows on the side of the buildings.
Yeah.
What was that? I forget the name of what that was. They did it 2 years in a row.
I have no
where
idea.
there were so many people walking across the historic suspension bridge that they had to close it down and people had to get off of it.
Yeah,
it was such a neat experience. So
that's cool.
So hey man, let's wrap this thing up.
Let's do it.
So Nick Foltz.
Yes, sir.
Rockstar Realtor.
Yes, sir.
Self-proclaimed, but you've lived up to it. Where can everybody find all things Nick Foltz?
Absolutely. So if you're on Instagram, Mr. Rockstar Realtor, all one word, all together. I have people that follow me for real estate, and then, the parties on my stories. You'll see a lot of crazy stuff in my stories. It goes away within 24 hours, and I have a huge following for my stories. On LinkedIn, it's Mr. Rockstar Realtor as well. And then also on Facebook, it's Nick Foltz Realtor altogether.
All right, man. Love you. You're awesome.
Love you too, pal.
Here's to a amazing 2021.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, man. Thanks. So please subscribe to The Necessary Entrepreneur on YouTube and wherever you go for your podcast, and visit thenecessaryentrepreneur.com for more. Tell a friend if you like what you hear, and remember, be willing to do whatever it takes, no matter what. See you soon.